So I'd like to go on now and talk about a different category of people, and those are the star seeds. Now, a star seed, unlike a walk in, the star seed is born here of a regular mother and father and grows up here and spends the whole life here. But they have a lineage behind them of having been extraterrestrial beings in previous lifetimes. In some cases, they've been able to trace it back to, maybe two or three or four or five different species that they were from one lifetime to another previously. And now they have chosen to be a human, but with that knowledge and those connections with those extraterrestrial beings whom they used to be. So they have a lot of awareness of the other beings, and very frequently they are visited by the other beings. And whereas a lot of humans, don't want those visits and are afraid when they begin to happen, it's different with the starseeds because those beings are quite familiar to them from the past, even the distant past. And so they welcome contacts with those beings. Sometimes they're taken by the beings onto their ships, or sometimes visitors simply come here and visit them at their home, the person's home. Anyway, starseeds certainly appear like regular people, regular humans, although a lot of them whom I have met are very, very attractive, even beautiful human beings from our human standard. And of course, that standard would vary throughout the universe, I'm sure. We're aware of our standards. Some of them I have known have slightly larger eyes than the rest of us, but they're very human looking eyes. They're not like the big black eyes. And the starseeds have loads of wonderful abilities, loads of psychic abilities, for instance. And uh, they have healing abilities. They can be very empathic. In other words, they can go into a room with people in it and immediately know who has a headache or who has a stomach ache or a backache or whatever, or who's feeling perfectly well. And they just can tune in like that, which is wonderful because in most cases they do have considerable ability to heal other people. So star seeds really like to raise consciousness of humans as well. And so they do this through hosting podcasts in some ways and giving podcasts of their own, giving lectures, teaching webinars, appearing at conferences, especially the spiritually awakening types of conferences and extraterrestrial oriented conferences. Um, so they give a lot of services with their psychic skills and their ability. And they do not go around, at least the ones I've met, they do not go around, pronouncing that they are star seeds. Uh, they don't give that name to themselves, but but they are, and they're really very special, wonderful people.
I guess they can show their talents. They don't hide the fact that they can heal or they're psychic like that, right?
Right. Yeah, so they just go ahead and use their services and don't add the title to it or the claim that they're a starseed. But I have known starseeds who have wondered if they are a starseed, and sometimes we will do a regression, and the information that comes out of that convinces them, oh, yes, I must be one of those people. Or, oh, yes, I see. I did have 5 lifetimes as an Arcturian or Pleiadian or whatever type, and I'm here now. Or sometimes they'll actually remember having made the decision to be born here as a human and be a starseed. Yeah, so different ones know different amounts about that. And then there's, oh, in that same category of starseeds, uh, we refer to starseeds who are adult. And there are also children who are called star kids. They're born here, grow up with the rest of us, just like regular kids do. And they have special abilities from a very early age. I mean, even from age 2 or so, if they happen to encounter an injured bird or an animal who's having a physical problem, they will just crawl or walk right over to that injured being and do their healing. They don't talk about it, they don't let their parents know that that's what they're doing, but they do it, and they're very effective at it. And of course, they have many psychic awarenesses that most children don't. And they just have loads of special skills, including advanced intelligence. So, fortunately, I know of a place in Europe up in the mountains, which is a special school, a live in school for star kids. And the adults are also very psychic and very tuned in. And the adults are helping them to develop a lot of their psychic skills. And even without that kind of help, the star kids uh, do develop those skills from what they came in with. They came in with a lot of abilities that most of our kids don't seem to. And of course, they look like regular kids.
To tell us about this school, though, this is a real human school?
Yes, there is a real place. I think it's in Switzerland, but I may not be remembering that correctly.
I wonder who put it together. Obviously, people know about starseeds then.
Oh, yes, yes, definitely so. And I hope that there are more schools like that. There are workshops, I know, for star kids, and I have participated in a couple of those. There is a psychologist named Richard Boylan who started this, oh gosh, probably 20 or more years ago, gathering children whom he recognized as star kids and also teenagers who are star kids, star teens, and holding weekend workshops for them. I know I participated as a host in one of those, which we held at the Integriton in Joshua Tree area in Southern California. And that was wonderful because the energies in the Integriton building are so enhanced anyway. And here these star kids were absolutely amazing. The 7-year-old boy came in with a video camera on a tall tripod, taller than he was, and videotaped the whole weekend, and then made that tape available, duplicated it, and made it available to anybody who wanted it. In the
7-year-old boy.
Yeah, 7-year-old
Wow.
boy.
Wow.
He was busy just like a professional cameraman would be throughout the whole workshop and turning the camera onto whomever was talking and whoever was doing a healing uh, session or whatever was going on. And all the other kids, of course, were very bright and very talented for their young ages. So anyway, Richard Boylan has definitely been carrying on work. Marion McNeil has associated, helped him with those weekend workshops too. And then there's a wonderful hybrid woman who I know about in North Carolina, and she has participated in those workshops as well for Star Kids. And one of the things that she does, which I think is really nice, is that when she's in a supermarket or a bank or a park or some other kind of public place, she keeps her eye out for the children who are there with their mothers. And she, because she's very psychic herself, being a hybrid, um, she can pick up which children are special in this way, which kids are of any age are star kids. And she will often go to the mother of that child. Child might be walking with the mother, or it might be in the grocery cart riding along with the mother. She'll go along and talk to the child and talk to the mother and point out to the mother, who may or may not know this, that that child has special qualities, special abilities. And she offers to meet with that child, with the mother present, um, to help the child to develop
That's
those
very
special.
good. That's very good to do that.
And sometimes, if she knows, oh, maybe two or three or more of those kids in the same geographical area, she will uh, gather a little group, like a little child seminar, to help them to recognize that they have these special abilities and to develop them. They'll be very complimented for that. I mean, it's really a nice experience for those kids to be recognized because, as we know, there are many children who have extraterrestrial visitors and nobody will believe them. And that's very frustrating for the child. And usually they just stop talking about it, even if those experiences continue to happen.
Yeah, I can see how this is part of the whole ET agenda, that you would find these kids like in the supermarket, and this is a way to help train these kids. So part of their agenda is to have these people who would go around finding these kids and getting them together in groups. So this is probably highly organized on a big cosmic scale, global scale by the ETs, I would assume.
Well, it may be, and I don't think that we hear very much about that sort of thing, but it's very reassuring to know that quietly it's going on here and there.
Yeah, this is the first time I've heard about it. Just makes me think of remember when Susie Hampton says she struggles to comprehend the vast complexity of these, how they've organized the three ways of souls. It's very, very thorough, nothing left to chance, she's saying. So this kind of plugs in, it fits into that puzzle. So yeah, thanks for sharing. It's the first time I've heard of this, that little factor, you know?
Ah, yes. Well, I think it's very encouraging and certainly helpful for those children because very often a psychic child will mention to his or her parents that, oh, Mrs. So and so, she really has a problem with her liver. And the parent might typically say, oh, there's no way that you can know that. And so, in other words, that sort of thing, I think, happens a lot for these special children. That just like when they mention that these funny little people or the little monsters or the little friend had appeared in their room again last night, and the parents don't believe it. Parents so typically say, oh, you must have been just dreaming. Don't worry about it. You must have been dreaming. Or, oh, well, you have a lot of imagination. That must be one of your imaginary friends. In other words, parents so easily sort of snuff it out and discourage the child from mentioning those things.
So I
So,
guess usually these kids are born to parents who are kind of normal. They don't know what's going on. They don't get it, right? Probably for most of them.
well, that happens in many cases. And in some cases, the parents might be more tuned in. They may have more psychic abilities themselves, or they may know that they have extraterrestrial connections. Uh, but it would be different among different children. But basically, I think most children who have unusual experiences like psychic tuning in and or healing ability or visits from these other beings, usually they don't have anyone to really talk to about that. And that's why just a very few years ago, a couple of years ago, I wrote a book for children called
Good, good.
called
That's the future. We got to reach out to them. Very good.
yeah. The book is called Kids Adventures with ET Friends in Space.
And where can people get your books? Below I have a link to your website. Can they get them on your website?
They can, yes, and they can get a signed copy on the
Ah,
website. They can also order it on Amazon. But I think that that's a big help for the kids who do have these unusual experiences to realize that, oh, other people do too. There's a whole book written about it. It validates it for them. It also opens up the awareness of the parents who might be reading that book to the children. And it gets conversation going. And many of the parents who have a child who has had these extraterrestrial experiences, many of those parents have had those experiences too. And they've never had anybody to talk to about it. And very often they've been in a lot of doubt. That must have been my imagination. Oh, it must have been one of those vivid dreams I have
oh,
often.
so that could be an example of how it runs in families. Like their parents might have been abductees and their grandparents, and they could be part
Yeah,
of lineage. Yeah.
exactly. Yes. And so sometimes a parent looking at this book with the child will get triggered into remembering, oh, I saw that. Oh, wow. And it will start sort of jiggling memories that they've been trying to suppress, uh, and they will start letting them come up.
That's
And
an important point. Another thing I've learned from you, like I didn't make that connection. So yeah, you're very knowledgeable, Barbara. Your history and your knowledge. I'm learning from you things like some of the stuff I've known, but you're adding new things I haven't considered. So that's something how the parents could be triggered by their child.
oh, yes, yes. And so very often along that line, when I'm regressing an adult person to extraterrestrial experiences, even if in the regression they're going back to an experience that they had in their adult years, when they're in that experience, which as much as possible is a sense of reliving that experience, not just remembering it from a previous point of view. Um, anyway, when they're in the regression, very often they will suddenly remember, oh, I've seen this being or these beings when I was a child. And it will be the first time that they will be aware that they had had childhood extraterrestrial encounters. And so that's very rewarding for a person actually who knows that he or she is having adult experiences. It's very rewarding to realize that, oh my gosh, I've had these all of my life. And sometimes a person will come in wanting to know about a particular childhood experience that they remember about. And what they remember is usually just either nothing except that they had missing time as a kid, or they remember the first moment or two of the experience, and then that is absolutely all they have awareness of. Uh, so, one person, for instance, came to me a few months ago, a man, and he had been wondering for decades about that one afternoon when he was a child. And he had been about 10 years old, I think. And he had been out with his friends riding their bicycles in the schoolyard, a paved schoolyard, after school hours. And they were having a great time. They were weaving in and outside of each other and popping wheelies and going over little ramps and down onto the pavement. And just 10-year-old kid having great fun, bright sunny day. And then suddenly, without being aware of anything changing, it was later and it was dark outside. All of his friends and their bicycles had gone, and his bicycle was left right there on the paved ground. What happened? So he had always wondered about that event and came when he was in his 50s or early 60s to regress to that. And sure enough, in the regression, he was taken by some beings up onto a spaceship. And it was very interesting for him to realize what had happened in that experience.
I'm wondering in that case, what did the other kids witness? The other kids, did they go home or did they see the UFO and then take? You wonder, what did the other kids see? You know.
Well, they probably were all made to be totally unaware, uh, what we call switched off. And that happens lots of times when the person having the experience is with a group of people. I know situations where there was a college girl uh, at a party in a friend's home in the living room. Oh, there were about 10 or 15 other college kids there. They're drinking beer and smoking cigarettes and listening to music and having a good old time. And suddenly the front door opened by itself, and in came three small beings, switched everybody off. In other words, made everybody be out of consciousness,
Woo!
consciousness, and sort of frozen, like if somebody was taking a glass of beer up to his mouth, he was frozen in that position, or somebody smoking a cigarette, just about to inhale, was frozen, and of course, the cigarette kept on burning. And so everybody was just frozen, unaware of what they were doing. The one girl, college girl, was taken out by the beings for an hour and a half or two, and then brought back. And as soon as she was put back on the sofa, which she had been taken from, and the beings left, all the people just became animated and aware again. The beer drinker actually swallowed the beer. The cigarette smoker noticed that the ashes had just crumbled right on down, almost out of sight, and everybody resumed talking. And then as time went on, people began to think, why is it so much later than it should be? And nobody knew until that girl actually had a regression years later and realized what had happened. It's also happened to a person I know who was working in a big office building, an insurance company in New York City. And there were, dozens of people working, and they each had their own cubicle, but all in one big room. And, common lighting over all the cubicles. And then, so one afternoon, around mid-afternoon, the elevator door opened and three little beings came and took one woman, and everybody else, including the woman, were totally switched off out of any conscious awareness. And then an hour and a half or two or so went on by, and the beings returned the woman to her cubicle, and they disappeared. And suddenly, everybody in the whole floor, full of dozens of people, became animated again and continued with whatever work they were doing. But people began to say, wait a minute, it's 5 o'clock already. Where did the time go? And people realized that they had had that missing hour and a half or two where they had not been aware of anything. So things like that do happen sometimes. And and what has happened that they were not aware of, of course, is that that one woman was taken by the ETs. Now
Yeah.
she wants to, uh, can recover that in regression, which she did. That's how I know about the story. And so no matter where the person is, these encounters can happen.
Yeah, I have a question about the Starseeds. Like I've been doing videos with Mary Rodwell since 2018. I think she's worked with like 3,000 families, and as she says, Starseeds is a manifestation we can see. You know, they have abilities, and they're not shy to show them. But Susie Hansen pointed out in the three waves of souls, like we can see the Starseeds, but then there's others like the concealed ones. Like for instance, like her son is one of these. People are going to make big changes in the future. We don't see those, but the Starseeds is some real evidence that there's something going on. So that's what's so valuable about them. But they're not all of them. She said the three waves of souls. Be a mistake to think that all of these great beings are just the Starseeds. There's more besides that.
Yes, yes. Well, good for her. I would certainly support that.